please pronounce your names correctly for me?
So our name, both of us, are Francesco, Urbano, Ragazzi.
So the one name for the two of you.
Exactly.
Exactly. We
Okay.
decided to merge our names long time ago, because as you know, in Italy there is an arte povera artist called Alighiero Boetti, who decided to split into two identities, Alighiero and Boetti, and somehow we wanted to merge our minds and our beings and generate this collective mind called Francesco Urbano Ragazzi.
I want to know, when did that happen? How did that happen? It's like, give me some background on that.
It was 2011 or 12. We were, and we had that. It was not the beginning of our career, but it was like a very important turning point. We were doing like a show that was like a signature show in a sense, because it was about it was about the legacy of LGBT plus movements in the art field, and it was the first institutional exhibition in Italy about this topic. And in a sense, it was very connected to our personal history and our common mission. And so we said, okay, we should find a way to make it simple. And so we said, okay, we have to merge our names. And then, of course, internet came and helped us, because, of course, it was the best way to find ourselves on the internet. So instead of repeating Francesco Urbano Ragazzi was the solution.
All right. I mean, not to pry, but like, are you all in a relationship, or is this just like a marriage of profession?
Both.
Lovely. Okay. Great. So now you all have been, were you, I guess, please educate me, were you chosen as the curators for LIAF, or did you submit proposal? How did this come about?
Yes, exactly. There was an open call, an international open call. So the curators were asked to submit a project, a draft for a biennial, and to propose workshops and activities involving the local community here. And so we submitted our application, and then we won.
Do you do a lot of these kinds of submissions and stuff?
Actually not. It was like really, I mean, we, for some reason, we were attached to this place for memories from our past. We were not at that time. We were not together. But when I was a teenager, I came in the north by car, and I didn't have the chance to see the Lofoten, but I wanted to. And for him,
well, in my case, my parents were obsessed with northern Norway when I was a child, for reasons I don't know.
I was gonna say, like, why?
So I found myself for 5 summers at the Lofoten, in the Lofoten Islands, and so I have these strong memories about this place. So we said, no, this is special. We need to apply.
Okay. Side note, just as another thing, what do you all do, like, when you're not a director of or the curators for an international art festival? What other jobs do you all hold, or roles do you have?
We curate exhibitions mostly, or projects. We are also publishing books.
Wait, literally, like, you're a book publisher, or you like write books?
Write books.
Okay,
yeah. And
you're a publisher,
editing books. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we were directing the archive of a feminist artist called Chiara Fumai in Italy, and also we were often working with Jonas Mikas, the filmmaker. but also we have our own project, like a sort of platform which is called the Internet Saga, and it was like a sort of research platform and sort of company for producing art. And so we did many exhibition series into this label.
Wow. Okay. I had no idea. So this is good. All right. Now, when you put your submission together, so like, because I'm always interested, because like I'm an artist and I submit to, you know, festivals and things like this.
Yeah.
How did you sort of craft it? Because oddly enough, you all actually had the, I guess, luxury of actually having been here before and had experiences, or at least close to it anyways. And so like I'm sure you had some, I don't know, like a little extra something in your application that they sort of seem to have recognized. Maybe.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what it was exactly.
You never asked?
But
I would have asked.
yeah, no, somehow I think it was also because of our past projects, because LIAF is a nomadic biennial, in the sense that the curator is asked to choose not only the locations but also the city where to locate the entire biennial. And we in our past we developed a series of exhibitions in non-museal spaces, so in let's say common people places somehow, trying to fight the value of autonomy that affirmed itself in the art field with modernism. So we tried to curate exhibitions, museum exhibitions in places such as a fast food restaurant or a supermarket, a jail, the internet,
The auditorium of CERN.
Of CERN.
Yeah, you said that. Yes, I want to ask about that too.
Okay, and since LIAF is based on intervening on in places that have already a value for the community, and that have a nature which is not the nature of a museum, I think they thought we were able to respond to their to the spirit of the biennial somehow.
Also, the people from the board told us that many of the application were about standard topics of contemporary art, like Anthropocene, very.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, that's so last year.
Yeah, exactly. So all these keywords that you can even immediately associate to this to Lofoten.
Okay, so what did you apply? What was the sort of the topic, or I don't even know how you would, what topic? I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. What?
Yes,
How? What was it?
We started from a narrative because we were thinking about the Arctic. We were reading. There is a recurrent image about the Arctic. So since the 15th century, this land has been described as the door of heaven. Probably because of the
24-hour
light,
sunlight,
24-hour light, etc. But it's somehow a pattern, and this kind of description also entered the first 3 chapters of Frankenstein. So we wanted to dig into this image and somehow make an archaeology of this image, and we found out that Mary Shelley actually wrote Frankenstein during a pandemic, during a cholera pandemic, which started in Indonesia, traveled through southern China, through the Middle East, and then finally in Europe. And so Mary Shelley, P.C.B.C. Shelley, Lord Byron, and John Polidori, their physicians, and also Mary Shelley's sister, decided to spend some time together in a villa in Switzerland, Villa Diodati, reading Gothic novels. And among these novels, there was Fantasmagoriana. So the story is quite long, but anyway, we started from this collection of Gothic novels that actually generated the two monsters of modernity. So Frankenstein from one side and the vampire, which is a short novel by John Polidori, which also inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula. So we were very interested in this idea that an artwork can generate another and then another and then another, so spreading like a virus. So these images somehow evolving and creating other images.
And the even beautiful connection to like that all of that went on during a pandemic, and now you're also sort of equating this festival after a pandemic kind of thing. So like there's also that nice correlation as well.
Yeah, we really wanted to understand what are the monsters of our contemporary age somehow. So it's somehow a question we are asking to the artists we are inviting to LIAF 2022.
And also we are some way inviting the artists to embrace their monsters.
Interesting topic also. I like it. All right. So you got accepted. Okay, but now, so give me a timeline on this. Like how much time did you have to propose? And then once you've been sort of approved, then how long have you been working on this project? And then quite honestly, how long will you be working on this project?
The first proposal to LIAF was sent in at the beginning of 2021, right? Yeah, it was last January. Then after 3 months or 2 months, we had so in March we had like a first interview, and then after the interview we had a second interview. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Which was in May in April, and after this we
accepted the job, let's say, and started working immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be clear, this is obviously a very paid position. I mean, this is not some sort of like in trade for or anything like that. So like so it's your job.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm just making it perfectly clear because Norway is very good with funding the arts. Like I love pretty much all of Scandinavia for like all the arts funding that they do. So like these are very well. I guess is the whole LIAF project? Would you call it like well funded or like pretty good funded?
No, it's well funded.
Yeah.
It's this is incredible because it's public funded.
I love it.
That's I will say pure luxury.
Indeed.
In a sense, but and then so they have like a public system of that works, and this is it was for us like a very interesting system to approach. And but from the other side, we discovered that, for instance, they don't use I mean, they are not so into like I don't know, branded collaborations or
sponsorships and partnerships,
or I don't know, funding from collectors. This is very, very distant from the Norwegian and the Scandinavian perspective.
Interesting, because I would imagine that's very European.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can think of many exhibitions sponsored by BMW, Mercedes, Ferrari. I'm sorry, trying to throw a little Italy in there.
No, here they can keep a different position in the sense.
Well, is that a good thing or a not good thing? In the fact that the government is sort of involved in it, like, are there any sort of standards of ethics or morals of like things you can or cannot do because it's government funded?
The transparency, it's like the main value. So all the way how fundings are used and it's important to have a certain control on it. And also, of course, to spread certain values that can, of course, can't offend people and so on. But then, and that's fair, of course.
Yeah, but we weren't forced to go in any direction. So I think from the point of view of an institution is a very good thing because it allows you to to go in your direction somehow in the purposes you want to to accomplish somehow. From an artist point of view is maybe a little bit different because you are forced to approach certain themes somehow, so to you are somehow you are forced to give social value to your artworks, and not all the artworks need to be socially valuable to me. So
at least directly socially
directly, exactly, not directly. So I think there is this difference between being an institution and being an artist in this system.
All right. So speaking of the artists, then, so how, like, bear with me because I'm not a professional curator, maybe amateur / rank amateur. Like I can curate, but I'm not a curator. Like you all are literally full-time curators. How do you start the process? So like you had this idea, this is sort of based on the phantasmagoria and then the trickle down from that. So then what's the next step?
We started, collecting names of artists. We were like connecting to our topic or our concept or our story in a sense.
But was this like any artist in the whole world, or was it like, did you start with maybe people you already had connections with? Like, because I'm always interested in curators, like basically how do they find their artists? Mm-hmm. So like, is it like you did a Google search, an Instagram search, or literally like went through your personal past history of like friends, colleagues, and people you've exhibited before? How does that work?
There were multiple lists. Because from one side we were of course thinking to also because of this story of like the Villa Diodati, of people that are very close to each other and they are sharing like this challenging each other to write a novel. So we wanted to invite very close friends. So they are part of the show, of course. But then we were also thinking to we had like different paths. So we were also collecting names of artists we wanted to work with related to this mythological aspect. And then also we had a lot of research on the artistic scene in Norway and North Norway and in the Sami area, in the Samsa. So we discovered a lot about the art scene in the north, and it was we received like something like 200 portfolios. So we had the time and the possibility to discover a lot.
Well, okay, wait, that makes a different point. I didn't even ask that, which is, was there like an open call for artist submissions, or was it only like you all just sort of chose whatever you chose? So like, or was there some mix of both of those?
We had like we had the possibility of we are giving a grant from the Capital of Culture, Bodo.
I love it when we can just give money out. It's great.
So we had to select people from the region. And then we received some portfolios by open call, but then also some friends or colleagues were like just suggesting or sending like some thoughts or some suggestions. So we discovered many things through this suggestion. Actually,
I'm sure as curators you will get plenty of suggestions of artists throughout your life. I'm sure you're constantly like, hey, look at my portfolio, like kind of crap, right? All the time.
Yeah, but it was just good, I think, to because anyway, someone sending a portfolio to you maybe finds a connection with your practice, so it's worth giving a try and look at the portfolio.
Absolutely. Okay. So, and this is something I love to understand about curators, because every curator does this a little bit differently. So it's like when you're looking at an artist for inclusion in, let's say, this project, because that's what we're here to talk about, what were some of the criteria / the thought pattern about like yes or no or maybe, because I'm sure that's sort of how it started and then sort of whittled itself down. So like, was it like, because you had to choose some from a particular region, some could be from anywhere in the world, but was it medium based? Was it like concept based? Was it, like what were some of the things that sort of entered your mind and sort of helped with this process?
At some point you start to associate the artist to a specific mood that it's even difficult to describe. So sometimes we were like discussing among us, and we said, okay, this is not so phantasmagoriana, we can cancel him or her, but I mean, you can recognize the mood, which is maybe in this case was really related to a certain attitude to work starting from isolation, and also the way to approach the reclusion or state of reclusion in a very creative way was something that was for us the criteria that we had to follow, and so it came really spontaneously. In a sense, we could recognize the attitude.
Just to be clear, is that like the title for the this year's festival, Phantasmagoria?
Fantasmagoriana.
Okay. So that's, but like, so when you're looking at artists, was it always about like, I sit back, I'm as I say, I'm an artist. So like I make submissions. So like I put together a portfolio and then I have to write a bunch of bullshit, kind of stuff. Then I have to submit it. I have to do my CV and all that kind of shit. It's just like, but when it comes to like your side of it, what's the first thing that strikes you? Quality of the work, then the statement, or some combination of the statement and the work, CVs? Like, what are the criteria that makes it so that you're like, that person has that special thing that will work beautifully in this project?
I don't really think that for us is the CV, but
Great.
rather the pertinence to a context, and also we really want to go against the coherence and homogeneity. So we try to mix artists from different generations, from different backgrounds, very well-known artists with artists nobody knows, even non-artists. So somehow things or I don't know, images that not belong necessarily to contemporary art. So yeah, our idea is always to break the temporality of the contemporary somehow, to state that there are different history lines going together. Sometimes they touch themselves, sometimes they simply go parallel, tending to the infinite, and that's it. So for us it's really important to represent the complexity of reality. So it's more a wider vision rather than picking one single artist.
And I have to say that often the choice doesn't come from the portfolio or from the CV, but mostly from the artworks. So from like the personal experience, or even mediated by the screen of the artwork.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how okay, in the old days, pre-pandemic, so not really that old days, The curators would often do studio visits. Now, of course, these days you can do virtual studio visits, but like, does that really work as well? Or do you still need to do studio visits? Or do you just sort of you find works based on like digital image submissions?
I actually like online studio visits.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I'm more concentrated. I can really keep a certain level of understanding.
You
And,
can you can only look at whatever they point the camera at.
yeah, that's good because often when I'm in the studio, I can get lost for some details, or the mood itself of the studio can some way be overwhelming or some way distracting me. In a sense, the online studio visits are very good, and you don't spend so much time, so it's also very practical.
Yeah, you don't get lost and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
And then if you as an artist are able to use it as a stage, it can be very, very effective.
That's an interesting way to think about it. Yeah. So it's almost a little bit of a performance to really say like, this is my work. This is not, and this is me, like, so the little performative nature to it. I like that. Because I hate virtual studio visits. So I like the change of the perspective on that. That's helpful. Now, so how long did it take you to do this choices? So like you started off, I'm sure, with hundreds of options. You said there were a couple hundred submissions. And then so how many months did it take? And then sort of what were some of the processes of like whittling down to help me out. Like, so like, did you sort of take those few hundred submissions and then just say, how many people did you end up choosing? How many artists are there in the final selection?
33.
33. So how did you get from massive selection and all your Rolodex down to 33?
It was important, actually, as a second step, the crucial step was to find the locations. Because we couldn't work on this ideal level of the exhibition, but it was important to, and that was the second criteria of the selection.
Right. So just so the listeners understand, so that means that both of you had to travel from Milan all the way up here just to look at the potential venues, which there were how many potential venues for you?
Infinite, of course, and also at the time we had to spend like 10 days in a hotel in Oslo because of COVID, of course.
Oh, so you had to go through like COVID restrictions before you could even come here.
Yeah.
But then did you have to do that also on the way back as well?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's
painful. So it was like you really had to be motivated to come, and we had to be. At the end we had just 1 week to spend in the islands because it was too time consuming.
20 days just in COVID restrictions back and forth. That's a lot. Yeah. But what people don't seem to understand, because we're here, so like we have a little bit of understanding, but like this is an entire archipelago. Like there's a whole series of islands that are connected. And then there are towns and villages and cities, maybe cities. Might be generous on that, but and you could choose from any of them. So like, how do you do that?
Yeah, we started the exploration with the team of the NNKS, the art center here in Svolvær, and they basically gave us the car and came with us around the islands.
Yeah, we started driving. We drove for about 6-7 hours, all through the archipelago. So from Svolvær, which is the city where you land with the plane, to O, which is basically the last city of the islands. And from visiting cities to cities, we started to understand also how people move, because it was important also to understand the practicalities. So how these people are living, what's culture for them, how do they move, is it difficult or not to to move from one city or the other.
Right, because I mean, some of the cities and towns are closer to, let's say, the airport. Some are closer to, because I know since I'm here that there's like an art school here. So, you know, some are closer to that, some are farther away. So, like, what were some of the reasons why you ended up choosing the particular town? Is it a town or a village, or what is it? Town?
Let's say town,
I'll go with town.
Kabelvåg.
Yeah.
And it was for two main reasons. One of them is the film school. There's a national film school there, an excellence in educating to moving images. And it was important for us. This institution was meaningful to us because it was a community of young people deciding to spend 3 years of their lives here in Lofoten. So it's one of the few communities of young people coming from abroad and spending some time here without being tourists. So we really wanted to collaborate with them and using also the biennial as a tool for promoting this institution. Also because when we arrived, the school really risked to close because they lack national fundings. And so basically in our first trip we occupied the municipality together with the students in order to ask for the school to stay open. So this is the first reason, and the second reason is that Kabelvåg has a strong history of resistance to the Nazi occupation of Norway. So in Kabelvåg all the teachers who opposed to the Nazi regime were imprisoned, were sent to Kabelvåg and imprisoned in a labor camp. But they were also able to start a protest, and they got liberated during World War II. And among the people imprisoned in Kabelvåg, there was also Kurt Schwitters, the Dada artist. As you know, he started building his Märzbau in Germany. Then he was forced to escape from the Nazi regime. He landed in Norway. He rebuilt a second version of the Märzbau. The Nazi occupied Norway, and he was imprisoned in Kabelvåg. Then he escaped in Ireland, where he finally built a third version of the Märzbau, which is now destroyed, which was also destroyed. So we were interested in this artwork that tries to live, tries to survive, and we connected all these histories, and so that's why we are in Kabelvåg now.
Yeah, I'm a stupid American. I didn't know any of that history. Like, so that's impressive, quite honestly. But there's also the connection with the War Museum here in I'm so bad with pronunciations. What's the name of the city?
Svolvær.
Svolvær. The War Museum here has an interesting historical art collection as well.
Yeah, we don't know if this collection is like very scientific, but the guy who's like who founded this museum is very passionate, this for sure, and he built a collection in this building, like in front of the art center, and this War Museum also contains some very controversial pieces, because they are like the first. There are drawings from Adolf Hitler, a series of 5 or 6 drawings, and representing Disney characters. So again, it's we don't know if they are fake or real Adolf Hitler's drawings, but we like the idea that that could have been another possible story, another option another possibility in the world of possibilities.
That's to me that's hilarious. That potentially that could be real, like that did exist, and Adolf Hitler actually did draw these things, and B, that they're totally randomly in this random war museum in the middle of nowhere, like in Norway. I'm just sort of like, why, how did they get here? Fascinating to me. But anyways, so how many times have you come back and forth through this whole process? Because we're not, so I mean, at this point, so you came during COVID. So how far into this process? Because we're talking, let's see, you started the submission in January, you were accepted in April. So we're now at only about a year and a half worth of completed work at this point, with still more work to be done. So how many more times did you have to come back here?
We came back in May. We came for the selection of the locations in May. Then again we came back in November. So in winter time. So it was a completely another setting, and then again now. So I mean, not so much. We spent a lot of time on the internet and on online meetings, and so big part of the process was online.
Yeah, we met the team of the biennial weekly, but only online. And also we tried to make some connections through the internet. So we suggested some artists who work on specific texts belonging to the Sami culture, and also profiting of the help of a literature professor here in northern Norway. So we tried somehow to overcome the limitations of the pandemic, creating connections between people.
The Samis have come up in previous conversations. So is there some distinctly unique characteristic to Sami produced artworks, or versus, let's say, general Norwegian works or works from other places in the world?
It's hard to say, but having studied a little bit the scene, the art scene, we can say that there are like there is a certain wisdom related to the nature and the elements of nature that can come and can be expressed through the artworks. That's to me the aspect that it's a recurrent aspect that I can see in the artworks.
Yeah, very practical connection to nature, but also this hallucinatory somehow relationship to nature. So for instance, we were interested in the first place in the theory of Carlo Ginzburg, an Italian historian who noted a connection between the Sami mythology and some images recurring in witchcraft trials in the 16th century. So he thought that these images somehow traveled from the north to southern Europe, somehow creating a unity in Europe before Europe existed.
Interesting. All right. So when it comes to now sort of going through the process here. So you've chosen a location, you've started, refining your selection of artists. My stupidity and my ignorance in the whole process. Some I keep saying fairs, festivals, because there's a huge difference between a fair and a festival. Some festivals will show existing works, and then some other festivals will put together commissioned works or sort of new works. How has this festival sort of balanced that, or is it all one or all the other?
We are showing and I would say producing mostly new works, like 70%, I would say. Then we had some works in mind that were part of a discourse that was important to keep. So, for instance, Jonas Mika's work, it's not a new commission, of course, but it's like a new point of view on his production in this context. So, it became in some way a statement for this LIAF.
But also being here, it was very important for us to work in a sustainable way. So we always have this had this in mind, both working with new commissions and old works. So, for example, we thought. Because sometimes ecology or sustainability is only a topic in exhibitions, but we wanted to be very practical. So we thought a lot about artworks that can be monumental somehow, without creating without being heavy in terms of carbon footprints. So we thought a lot about textile artworks or artworks that are transportable, artworks that are made on paper, for instance, or can be transmitted or generated through instructions, or even produced directly here. So this was the main value somehow we followed in commissioning new works and selecting old works.
And also, this is connected to the venues, because we didn't want to build like temporary structures, which is also another issue that often comes with the temporary events.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to build like this kind of pollution, so we decided to use the venues as they are, without adding fake walls or.
I have to say too, like I saw some of the locations you all chose. Like the black box is a beautiful black box. Like it's a gorgeous space. But then you have this old rundown school that's going to be demolished, I believe, after the event. Correct?
Let's hope so.
I love the idea of using a space like right before it's being demolished. I've had many experiences in my career like having that opportunity, and it is so much fun because you can really you like, it's not just that you're just placing something in a space, because you can break walls, tear up floors. Like, I mean, you can do things that oftentimes you can't do in a more traditional space, which is magnificent.
It's true, and it's like in the Merzbau, something could survive, hopefully, even if we destroy the space, even if we have to stretch the identity of the artworks and to work on this projectivity, because sometimes someone is sending instructions, or sometimes we have to just project works or fax and so on. This can, even if you stretch a lot the works, there is a matrix that can rest, that can stay, that can be like resonating for the future, hopefully.
So you actually have people who are just going to be sending instructions, like Saul LeWitt kind of way?
Yeah, we have like we are presenting actually a masterpiece from Stan van der Beek, who was the one who in some way invented the expanded cinema, and we are showing like a piece related to mail art in a sense. So it's like a series of fax drawings that are producing like a wall painting in a sense.
I don't even have a fax machine. I wouldn't even know where to get a fax machine these days. Like, So much fun. All right. So the sustainability is an interesting question because of the logistics of this location. Because either the artist has to come all the way here, and or the shipment of art has to come all the way here. That's a kind of a nightmare to me. Like to have this entire. I mean, you said 33 artists. That some of the stuff is coming from very far international distances. Customs, weather, all kinds of different things that does any of this concern you?
I have to say that the artists were immediately embraced the way we were working. For instance, Emma Talbot from London immediately got the sense of the project and decided to send just a tube with some huge silk drawings. And then
and the final sculpture is 30 meters long, for instance. So
that's a big tube.
Yeah, but also a quite small package somehow. So she worked thinking about it. It was not the work was not produced specifically for LIAF, but she had this in mind.
And also with Tebe Fetogo from Botswana, we were very scared about the transportations, but we discussed with him. So we thought that the best way of working was to produce the canvases and then to send them and to frame them here in Lofoten with the help of some painters. So it will come for the opening, so we can take care of this process, following some way his own work.
How many different countries or regions are going to be included in the entire finished product?
We have artists from Oceania, from Asia, from Taiwan,
the Middle East, both North Africa and South Africa. South Africa, the US.
I
love how you looked at me when you said that. But
yes, we cover different regions which are some way connected with the story of Fantasmagoriana. So they are not all connected or not directly connected. So in a sense, it's the geographical link. It's is some way related to this literary source.
And I wonder this again, sort of as the outsider looking at a festival kind of thing. Like, was it intentional? Did you say we need to make sure to get some artists from each of these different regions, or did it just happen that way?
No, it wasn't. It was in this case was very spontaneous.
Okay.
So it came from this first selection, from the method that we wanted to approach, and then step by step the list came. Some artists couldn't participate. It's also something that can happen because the time it's not that long. So for previous invitations or other engagement, you can for artists can't be available. For instance, there are artists who are participating to other biennials. For instance, there were artists participating to the Venice Biennale, and in those cases, artists as some sort of priority.
Yeah, I guess Venice Biennale would take priority over the LIAF. Nothing personal, LIAF, but yeah. But how long? So you just mentioned how long time period did artists have from when you said yes, we would like you to be included until the expectation of sort of finished results showing up here?
We invited all the most of the artists last summer. So.
Okay, so
less than 1 year or 1 year,
approximately a year to complete it. It's reasonable, I would think. I could be totally wrong. I don't know, But I mean, for me, it takes me 3 to 4 months to finish one piece these days. So like, I totally understand how a year could not be enough.
Yeah.
So okay, but and then it was sort of, was there any sort of desire, because again, like I keep thinking back to like my own sort of curatorial stuff, and also like the expectations of institutions or sponsors or partners in this case governmental things. Like, was there any sort of thing of like gender representation or any other sort of criteria like that as far as representation, or even medium representation? So like, you wanted to be sure to have some video, some painting, some sculpture. Like, were there any other sort of things that went through your mind of like, in trying to have a broad sense of things or not?
That's for sure is important in both for the on the media side. It was the show. It's very cinematic show, and also related to a certain media archaeology. So we are talking about cinema, and we are in a film school. So this aspect came immediately, and it was central.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Then concerning identities or political representations, this is something that we always try to keep in mind, because it's part of our way of thinking or of interpreting life. So we try to be like very spontaneous, but to have like a certain regard, as the French will say, on this aspect.
Mm-hmm. But it came later. We checked the list, verifying that somehow we were not biased. Yeah.
Or unbiased.
So that's,
yeah.
Or unbiased,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can I just say something about the two of you that I love, is that like, you all have this great, I wouldn't call it a banter, but like, when each other has finished saying what they're saying, not to interrupt each other. Like, it's really good. Like, because a lot of people would talk over each other and interrupt each other and disagree and stuff. You all have it like really sharp. Like,
yeah, it's like the way we are like dealing with our multiplicity and shared identities. So we are learning day by day how to manage this aspect of representation. And
it's sharp. Like, I wish my wife and I were as sharp as you all are on this, but yeah, we're not. All right. So as you're coming down to the wire here, more or less, like, so this is your, I guess, last visit before the installation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You've been going through the logistics of the spaces themselves. Now that you've had access, you had like, you even did 3D renderings. You had sort of thoughts and ideas. So like, how is it sort of coming together? Like, are things working the way you hoped / expected, or have you had to make adjustments? Like, how is this process, this sort of the finalization of the process coming together?
We had to adjust, of course,
a lot.
I mean, there were also very disappointing moments. So, for instance, one of the challenges that we had during the when we decided to do the show was to invite a TV series to be part of it. Like an artist, but being a TV series. And the TV series is a very important TV series, actually, that was written and conceived in Norway, but then was spread all over the world. And this TV series is called Scam.
I don't know this TV series.
It's for teenagers,
okay,
basically.
Okay.
So it's good that you don't know.
I am not their demographics. I got it. Okay.
But yeah, actually, it's a cult series, because I mean, it was based on a very peculiar writing process. So they had to research a lot, to do interviews to young people, and so the series is based on research. And this makes the series very interesting. And also, all the new versions of the series in other countries are originated by this series of interviews. So all the versions are different. So in a way, it was mythological. Also, the process of the production of the TV series, and we were very interested in how a new myth came from Norway, which not often export products. Also in the collective imaginary, and so we invited them. We had like I don't know how many meetings. But then, after like 6 months of negotiation, with a TV channel, not with just one TV.
Yeah, broadcast. Yeah.
So I mean, they were like a company, and maybe they were too corporative. So they said, okay, we love the idea, but so we wanted to show all the trailers from all the countries in order to see all the differentiation, but they said, okay, this is too time consuming for us because we have too many loyal aspects to manage in order to make this possible in a show. Okay, but then so after many months of discussion, that can be really disappointing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there are so many times where you hope and pray, you plan for something, you hope for something, you expect something to happen, and for whatever reason it falls through, and then you have to rethink. Same thing. At one point you had another space as well that you had desired, and there was some difficulty with getting that.
Yeah, the church. We wanted to to set part of the exhibition in the main church between Svolvær and Kabelvåg. So we had a very long negotiation with the bishop, and then they asked us to remove the artworks at every baptism, funeral, marriage. So it was impossible for us to set up a show in these conditions. And we had to abandon this location, but luckily enough we found the black box at the school, so we managed to maybe it's even better not to have the church.
So moving forward from here, so like you've still got, let's see, what is it, 3 months? No, 2 months, 3 months. 3 months from this recording, 3 months to sort of finish and complete and install the entire thing. Well, first of all, we never even talked about like how long is the festival up and available to be seen?
1 month.
1 month.
It's from September 3 to October 2, 2022.
Great. September 3rd is my birthday, so that's very exciting for me.
Amazing. Let's celebrate together.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to come back for the opening. Wouldn't that be great? I'll have to get another grant for that. But yeah, so it's going to be still coming up. So there's still concerns, I'm sure, sort of things that could potentially go wrong. But let's try and keep it a little bit more positive. So like, what is it that you're sort of optimistic about and hope will not only like work out well, but then like what's the hope for the festival? So like, I know that students are very involved here. So like, is it for tourists? Is it going to be on social media? Are you going to be doing like YouTube videos of it? Like, how is this? Because it's in a bit of a out of the way location, but yet you want to make sure that the public can be as involved as they desire to be. So like, what's going to be done to sort of encourage that?
It's not, for us. It's not It's not central that you are here for the opening.
I still want to be, but that's fine.
I mean, yeah, you are welcome, and you are welcome. But we are not so. We don't believe so much in the presence at all costs. As said, we like also the online studio visits. So and we feel that if you have like a substantial narration, this can be spread and like have like another life through media. and this is the case. So we like the idea of having a great opening here in Kabelwag, sharing this moment with the people here, also involving people that are not often so connected to art, to the art, contemporary art, but in this case, we like the idea also of having like multiple narrations that can go starting from the show, and that's the reason why we also opened a preview exhibition in Venice and in Oslo. So we had like a multiple presence.
We didn't even touch on that. You want to take a step back to Venice and talk a little bit about that too?
Maybe yes.
Yes.
Wait. Okay, I'll give you a leading question on that. How did that happen? Because I mean, you're doing an international festival in Norway, and then suddenly you're like, oh yeah, let's do this additional part to the exhibition in Venice. How did that come about?
Because we really wanted to think about biennials in themselves. And we truly believe that LIAF is now one of the most interesting biennials in the world. Not because of us, but because of the history of the institution. Because they started in 1991 and immediately thinking about new ways and more sustainable ways of producing biennials, and also they were focused on merging local artists with the international scene. So these themes, these topics that nowadays are quite central in the artistic discourse globally, started here somehow in the 90s, at the beginning of the 90s. So we wanted somehow to approach the topic going to the mother of all biennials and trying to confront her somehow. So we decided to go to Venice like David with Goliath somehow.
Okay, but wait, just to be clear, who decided to go to Venice? Did like the LIAF propose it to you, or did you propose it to them? How did that even happen?
It was part of our project. Since LIAF is a nomadic exhibition, we wanted to expand this nomadism and go first to Venice and then to Oslo, for then coming here finally in Kabelvåg in September. So we wanted to conceive our biennale as a journey somehow from south to north.
And as you probably experienced, the Norway isn't, and the Norway in particular, is not that good in communication. So if, as said, they are very good in public fundings, in creating like a sense of community, but on the other side, the way they are communicating themselves is not so impactful. And for us, instead, is like one of our main goals when we work as curators. And this was like a good match, because we want to empower certain values that here were like very present, and so we thought that Venice was the right place to start the narration, and it was like an hyper challenge, because in that case the show happened and is still happening. It's like it's a permanent installation in a prison. So again, we were working with a particular community. In this case, was like the community of the female inmates of the prison of Convertite in Giudecca, and we had the time. Despite COVID and all the restrictions that of course came, we had like the third wave until January 22.
Did you have another 10 days in a hotel there too?
No,
luckily enough.
But we had the prison, so it was like we were behind the bars, and but. You can imagine all the technical restrictions that we had for this.
Not allowed to bring a knife in to clean anything, kind of stuff like.
No, apparently knives are the easiest thing to bring into a prison, and the director told us we need to count all the knives before you start working, and at the end. But don't worry, you can take the knives with you. Unfortunately, we didn't need any knife, but.
It's good to know that the process is in place, though. That's great.
Yeah.
So you did this 2-part exhibition, though. So there was the prison, and then there was a second part to the exhibition in Venice.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The Palazzo of Two Collectors. So we really wanted to to work in two spaces that were totally opposite. And from one side, we decided to nobilitate the parlor of the prison. So we asked the inmates to choose a place that needed somehow to be improved in some way or another, and they chose the room where they meet with their families, their lawyers, their children, etc. So we wanted somehow to nobilitate the space for them to create a community, to work together. And on the other side, we wanted to make the space of the privilege, so the palazzo of the collectors, a dangerous space, an uncomfortable space. So somehow to reverse the nature of these two places.
Yeah, and the two artists, Pauline Cornier-Jardin on one side and Tommaso De Luca on the other, were really subverting the roles of those two spaces. So we had like a sort of a representation of social masks in the prison, which was like a permanent installation about this subversion of roles, because basically all the process was based on drawing sessions related to the representation of the guards or the nuns, which were in the past.
Because you need to know that the Convertite prison was a monastery. It started its activity in 1570, and then after World War II, it became a female prison.
So for centuries, that place was just for women in a state of reclusion. And we wanted to some way create a sort of party ballroom for them, and Pauline was able to build it together with them, creating like also working on this on the preparation of a party in a sense. So they were like dreaming and aspiring to this party. And the preparation of the party was based on drawings, and all these drawings are there in a sort of fresco and in an animation that will be there for decades or centuries. And on the other side, Tommaso was invited to create this uncanny feeling in this very comfortable place of comfort that the palazzo should be, and so he worked on traps and on how the traps can be some way the counterpart of the design, because often we design you have to prevent some dangerous happenings. Then through the traps you actually
embrace the danger somehow.
Yeah.
You create a danger.
Yeah. So in this case the traps can be sculptures, can become a self-portrait in a sense, self-portrait of destruction. So that was that part of the project, and the two projects were called Something Out of It. So it was also a way to, it's about strategy of survival.
All right. And then Oslo?
Oslo, it will be a solo show by Kenneth Goldsmith.
Wait, you're saying it will be?
Yes, because it's opening on June 9th.
Okay.
9. So next week.
I was going to say, like, today is June 3rd. Okay.
Yeah. And it will be a solo show by Kenneth Goldsmith, an American artist and poet. And during the pandemic, he found himself alone in his studio. So he decided to start a very simple exercise. He started retyping one book. And then this action of retyping became the desire of retyping an entire library. So in Oslo at Kunstnernes Hus, a museum in Oslo, Kenneth will exhibit about 200 retyped books.
And these books are like a sort of tracing a sort of ideal community. So they are like friends gathered together.
Friends.
Imaginary friends gathered together through this act of retyping. And this will, of course, this is like linked to the appropriationistic practice of Kenneth Goldsmith, who was also the founder and still is the founder of UbuWeb, so this pirate shadow archive dedicated to avant-garde films and poetry.
Any last thoughts, I guess, on the sort of finalization of because like that's what you were doing today, literally. Mm-hmm. Like you were placing things in space, thinking about the logistics of like how to hang, project, install, all this kind of stuff. So like, how are you feeling confident about the what you have sort of, you know, because like curators, you sit around and you think, you dream, you you conceptualize something, but then the reality of putting it together. So like, do you feel like it has fulfilled your initial idea? Has it exceeded it in some ways? Like, where has it landed in the end?
Yeah, we are confident, but of course the time, it's a matter of time, definitely, because you have to consider the holidays in Norway, for instance, which are in July. So, for instance, just to give you an example, but we had to order all the technical equipments for the films and video and installations, like screen-based installations. All these equipments had to be like booked, like have to be booked like next week, so at the beginning of June, because otherwise they couldn't arrive.
Yeah, I know. Just to be clear for the listener, when you say holidays in July, you mean all of July. Like much of Norway is either closed or on vacation or whatever. Like the people just leave. You know, like I've been in France, like in what was it, late July, early August or whatever. There's like 2 weeks in there where like Paris shuts down, like there's just nothing, and Norway is very similar in that way. So like you're not jokingly saying like a holiday, because like in America a holiday is a day.
Exactly. No, it's
You know, maybe a weekend if it's an important holiday, but like it's a day. But like when you're saying July holiday, you mean like the whole month of the July. So like you actually have to like plan very far ahead if you expect to get anything in August.
And we will probably spend the entire August here in order to fix all these details that can be some way lost in these holidays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hope to recreate also a community of artists like the one in Villa Diodati in August. So we are inviting artists at different times to work together with us on the setting up of the show. So
the artists, most of the artists, I'm going to say not all, but most of the artists will be coming up here, probably staying here at the residency it's not a residency. I did that before. It's a guest house.
Guest house.
Guest house is what they like calling it. So here at the guest house, which has a studio space where they can be working, as well as then also being able to do site-specific works as well. So a number of artists will be coming for a period of time in order to actually either produce or sort of complete the works, let's say, here on location.
Yeah, we will. 20 artists will probably come for this last phase, and we like the idea of having like finally a communal moment, no? Because we didn't have it, and so this is maybe like the little utopia of being all together here in the Highlands, and sharing this the troubles, but also the excitement of the installation process is surely the best moment to. And also, of course, economically, technically, logistically, it was the best way of dealing with time and the limits that we had.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts you'd care to share about the future of LIAF?
The future of LIAF? No, we hope it will be a long future, for sure.
Okay. That was a poor phrasing. Your version of this year's LIAF.
Our version. We hope to really create a community somehow, and we hope to have made connections with the artists, but also with professionals or experts we involved in this project. For instance, next week also Raffaele Analdi Rossano and Holland Oswald Dennis are leaving for a trip on a research vessel working with microbiologists. So again, a sense of community starting from a condition of isolation. And so we hope that this spirit will be kept until the end of our show and even beyond.
Yeah, I think this sense of isolation that you can probably feel here. And for instance, the students we are working with at the school are surely approaching all these feelings. Because they are kind of very autonomous in their programs. They have to, but they are, aspiring to be artists. They are also in a young people with troubles, and being isolating in the islands can be very, very hard. So in a way, we are learning from them also some strategies. So again, it's more about how people can build their own lives, inventing methods and strategies, and this is what we want that this kind of wisdom we want that can be spread and continue and keep on.
Well, fabulous! Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you go, we would like to thank you for listening all the way to the end of the conversation. We also would appreciate it if you would share the podcast with your friends, families, coworkers, and even studio mates. Anyone with an interest in the arts and creative industries. The building and strengthening of the arts and creative community, both today and in the future, is at the core mission of this podcast. They can listen and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. We are produced by 5014, and the music was created by Pete Bybee. The Wise Fool Art Podcast is supported in part by an EEA grant from Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway in an effort to work together for a green, competitive, and inclusive Europe. We would also like to thank our partners Hunt Kastner in Prague, Czech Republic, and Kunstsentrene i Norge in Norway. Links to EEA grants and our partner organizations are available in the show notes or on our website, wisefoolpod.com.